Hello everyone and welcome to today's MarketingBitz webinar. This is Joe from the MarketingBitz team. Today's webinar is titled Google Webinar, Make Your Website Work for You, and will be brought to you by Dave Meyer from Busy Web representing Google. Next slide please. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we are working through solidifying some new locations for our MarketingBitz Bootcamp. The bootcamp is a one-day digital marketing intensive covering everything from email marketing to social media marketing to web presence development, search engine optimization, all kinds of different tactics and techniques. And that's the tentative date or locations at this point are San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and New York City. So when we have those dates, we'll definitely be making those announcements. So just be on the lookout if you're in those markets or if you're looking to kind of come to an event, just be on the lookout for that. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Over to you, Dave.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and welcome to today's workshop, Make Your Website Work for You. We're going to talk about a bunch of strategies to help you as a marketer build or improve an existing website. Now, a lot of people ask why even have a website. Now, whether you've had a site for 10 years or you're just getting started, this workshop is going to give you information that you need to plan, create, or recreate your site to accomplish your business goals. We're going to look at 6 characteristics of a great website. It should be goal-oriented. It should be intuitive, organized, useful, functional, and search-friendly. And all of those things are going to touch on specific things that you need to do. So inside of goals, we're going to talk about what you need to know in order to meet business goals for your website. It's not as urgent to get visits on your website as it is to have a website that converts. Of course, one needs to follow the other. If you don't have any traffic on your website, you're obviously not going to get any business out of it. But simply measuring hits or visits is not a great indicator of success. You can look for trends inside of that, of course, but what you really want to make sure is that your website is doing something for your business that matters, and that's usually generating leads, generating referrals if you have an e-commerce or a B2C business, if it's actually generating sales, or if it's generating engagement if you're a B2B business and driving people into a lead funnel that you can continue to warm up. If it's intuitive, of course, it needs to be easy to use on all devices. If it's organized, the structure of your site can help guide people and really move away from the hunting around that none of us have time for. And then if it's useful, of course, you're going to be delivering something of value, functional and search-friendly. And being with Google, we're going to talk a little bit about some of those search-friendly tips inside of that as well. So many business owners know that building a website is an early step and really the foundation of all of your marketing. A site can be a lot more useful than a business card or a brochure, however. With some advanced planning, you can create a site that helps your business grow right out of the gate. So let's define what those goals need to be. Ask yourself why you want a website. What do you want that site to do? Your site is a tool that can help you achieve specific business goals. The goals depend on your business. Some examples might be building your company's brand, generating new leads for your sales team, helping to make sales, of course, especially if you're in a B2C business, re-engaging customers for those folks that have a wide customer base and want to go back to more. And one of the things that is one of those everybody knows but nobody pays any attention to things, having a customer acquisition strategy is fantastic, but re-engaging customers is 10 times easier than finding a new customer. Attracting new employees in this short labor market is very important. And then, of course, you want to provide support and help deepen existing relationships that way as well. Next, think about your target audience. Who is your website for? This will influence how you build your site to achieve your goals. Your audience impacts everything from graphic design to the words on your web pages. Your site shouldn't try to be everything to anyone, but instead you should narrow down your audience instead of trying to publish to the world. Defining an audience might sound simple, but it does take some effort. It's relatively easy to define demographic data, like gender, age, or employment status. But if you stop there, it makes it more difficult for your business to stand out among your competitors. Stereotypes about your audience can also lead to false assumptions. So ask yourself what makes your audience unique. And if your business is struggling with this in general, this is a fantastic exercise to have across the board. But who are your favorite clients, and who are those customers that if you could get 5 more of them this month or even this year, it would make a transformative difference to your business? Your goal is to develop a more complete picture of your target audience. You might want to examine specific age ranges rather than one large range. Age 5 to 75 is not really an age range. Instead, you're going to want to focus on maybe a couple of subsets. So who are your favorites? Is it 25 to 34? Is it specific generations? Is it millennials or Gen X's or boomers? And what do those people share in common? Are your best customers in the city? Are they suburban, rural? What education level are they? What type of employment do they have? Are these new employees into the market? Are they seasoned veterans? What are you trying to engage with them at? You're going to want to consider hobbies and interests and values that they have. Consider their view of your product or service. Is it a necessity? Is it something that's nice to have? Or maybe even a special treat? Once you've defined your audiences, keep them in mind as you move forward. Now that you're thinking about your goals and your audience, let's add another layer, tracking and measuring success. If you don't track and measure your site's performance, you don't have a way to make improvements. In short, if you're not marketing, or if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. So here's another way to think about it. You make some modifications to your bike to make it go faster. You don't know your max speed before modifications. How are you going to know if it worked? Similarly, you need to track and measure online success so you know what improvements to make. Always be testing. There's a lot of ways to do this. Some have more accuracy than others. You can start by simply asking your customers how they found you. Ask them when they call you on the phone, when they visit your store, or as you're corresponding by mail or email. You can also get more precise by setting up a trackable phone number. If you advertise with Google, you can set up free call tracking, which records every time your ad results in a phone call. You can track the number of emails and form submissions on your site, and if you have an e-commerce site, of course, you can track sales. Also important inside of e-commerce, however, is you want to be able to track how many visits and how many people are adding items to your shopping cart, and then track how many abandons you get in your cart, because that'll tell you something about how engaging or how many roadblocks you have in your purchase process. You can use web analytics software like Google's free Google Analytics to analyze visitor behavior and see exactly how they engage on your site. As you think about your website or your future website, take a moment and list at least one new goal that you would like to incorporate into your site. I want you to be very specific, so think about one point in time. Be realistic. Making $1 million if you're just starting is probably not a great start goal. And think about how you can track and measure success. For example, if you owned a pizza shop and you wanted to increase your online orders of pizzas for delivery, set up a goal to increase online orders over the next month by 10%. That's specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-based. It's SMART. So define that goal and keep that in mind as you're moving forward with your site. If you do have questions or concerns, I would encourage you to ask that question via the questions tool, and we will have time set aside for Q&A. So if you have a specific goal that you would like input on, feel free to add that in the question and answer tool. Next, a great website is intuitive. We've covered some big picture topics, including goals, audience, and measurement. Now let's talk about the actual site. This section is going to be focused on design, but not simply how pretty the site looks, although of course having an appealing design is important. This section is focused on how intuitive or how it matches the expectations of your visitor. Does your site naturally lead visitors through a process on the site to accomplish the goals you laid out? Visitors should not have to think about, or worse, struggle to find what they're looking for to do on your site. The design can have a big impact on whether your site helps you achieve and reach your goals. So let's look at some of the typical elements of a site. When people think of web design, they often think of the overall template, the look and feel. That is the graphics and layout that appear consistently throughout the site. That design, or the skin of the site, is just one component of a great design. Within the graphic template, there's lots of common elements that appear on most sites, including the header or top section of the site. The header usually includes a company logo, usually in the left corner or centered on the page, and most website visitors expect that that logo will link back to your home page. The footer or bottom of the site usually includes important links, contact information, copyright info for folks that have heard about or are concerned with GDPR. They might have new privacy implementations or indications on that site on the footer. That's stuff that's going to show up both in the header and the footer on every single page of the site. Navigation is usually horizontal across the top of the site, below the header, or vertically on the left side of the site. And specifically in mobile versions of the site, most often navigation is compressed into what you see as like a 3-dash item, what some designers will call a hamburger, because it sort of looks like a hamburger. Inside of that, navigation should be all of the essential elements to get someone to the right page of the site. For anyone out there using a content management system like Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, Drupal, or my personal favorite, WordPress, make sure that you're taking the options inside of that content management system to include all of the content that you need. The nice part about CMSs is that they let you publish things to all of your pages in one fell swoop. The bad thing about that is it's easy to also make your website overcomplicated. Most of these tools have the ability to allow you to customize and change a design. It's important not to get too crazy because you need to adhere by core design principles. Keep your design as simple as possible and no simpler, and make sure that if you're using a pre-built template, that it actually serves the needs of your users. It's very easy for us as business owners to get excited about a specific design because it resonates with us. But if your website doesn't match the needs of your customer, or if your competition and the universe that you're operating in doesn't share that same design aesthetic, it can actually work against you. Here's a few key factors to consider when designing your website. First, create or choose professional, attractive designs, and make sure that the design that you do choose is consistent across the site. Having different colored headers on different pages, or different font sizes, or different fonts on your site can be jarring to the user. So many businesses should be optimizing for mobile devices, and so as you look at that, the key is to coming in with like a minimalist design. In other words, focus on your business goals instead of making the most elaborate graphics or videos possible. Make your navigation clear, simple, and easy to use, and it should be easy for site visitors to get around on your site. One of my favorite tricks for doing that is to invite someone that knows you well enough to be completely candid in their response on your website, but isn't directly involved in your business or your industry, to get an idea if that website is usable enough. So ask them to do something specific on your site, and then track how easy it is to do that. And then there are tools like Hotjar or other testing tools. Google Analytics has a brilliant page flow tool inside of it where you can review where people are going, and that will help you identify where people either aren't clicking or where they're clicking and then you're losing them. Your website's a great way to share information with your target audience. Useful content should be presented in a large, clear font with enough contrast to read in order to serve you best. And your site can help visitors do stuff. So functionality is important to help serve your business's goals. If, for example, you are a CPA and trying to get as many people to identify themselves as potential audience members or a potential client. You're going to want to give those potential customers an easy link to click or an easy form to fill out in order to represent that they're interested. In order to get them to do that, you have to give them some sort of usable information or something useful that they're willing to trade, in this case, their email address for, so that you can automate some additional connections and help grow the connection that you have with that business. Mobile is one of the most important considerations about design. Out of approximately 1 trillion web searches in 2017, more than 50% of all web traffic is now coming from smartphones and tablets. Making your website work on mobile phones is no longer an afterthought. It is now a priority. And if your website doesn't have elements to make your website what is called mobile responsive, your website may not show up in search results on mobile devices. Responsive design adjusts the site's appearance to best present the information based on the size of the screen and the type of device. A user-friendly design is the most important first step, but here's some additional tips. First, make your navigation easy and intuitive. For example, website visitors expect that clicking on the logo, again, will return them to the home page. Another tip, keep your navigation menu short and don't nest additional navigation several layers deep. On a desktop version, it's easy to click on About Us, for example, and then hover over Services and then navigate through the services. That's not possible to do, or certainly more difficult to do, when you're tapping and touching on a mobile screen. So compare your content from a luxurious 15-inch screen to something much more restrictive like a 4-inch screen. Mobile optimized sites use simple navigation and large, easy-to-click buttons and links. Now really think about your home page. Chances are that's the first page a mobile visitor will see on your site. What critical information does a website visitor need? Probably a phone number, maybe an address, probably the ability to search. So having a search function featured very heavily on your home page and in your navigation on your mobile site, make that content easy to find and make it easy for your users to complete the most important tasks. For example, you might want to allow the users to connect to the site without registering for an account, and then if they want to buy something, give them the option to check out as a guest. If your site has forms, minimize the number of fields, especially required fields. If you can get by with 2 questions instead of 5, go the 2-question route. And if you have more than one fill-in-the-blank question, you're not going to get many form fills on mobile devices. It's just really hard to type with 2 thumbs. So, optimize for usability on every page of your site. Research shows that with mobile design, it's best to take an all-or-nothing approach. In other words, build a website that optimizes every single page for mobile devices, not simply a few pages. Now that we've talked about goals and tips for choosing a design, let's talk about the information within your site. A great site is also well organized. Even if you don't have a lot of web pages right now, your site will and probably should grow over time. Planning how existing and future content will fit into the framework of your site is going to serve you well. Let's take a look. You may have heard the term information architecture, or IA. Sounds technical, but you don't need to be a website designer, programmer, or an information architect to create one. Simply put, it's a plan for the information on your site. Information architecture maps out the sections, pages, and functionality of your web pages. There are several pages and sections found on most sites, including the home page, an About Us page or section, a contact page, and maybe even a location or directions page. Depending on your business, you're probably also going to include products or perhaps services if you're a B2B business. How to organize that information? The best way is by considering your business goals. Earlier, you started a list of your business goals. Refer to that as you're planning out your site. Let's take a look at an example. This example business sells custom sports uniforms. Now, their products are organized by sport, but there's lots of other ways to do this. They might also be organized by season, by age, by level of activity. Depending on what resonates with your audience, you're going to want to spend that time, and you can also do it or offer up navigation both ways if you're split on the result. Here's a few tips to get started on organization. When you're choosing names and labels for parts of your site, keep those labels short and descriptive. About my business isn't as beneficial as just a simple about. Funky services is much worse than just saying services. And focus on the user inside of every page of your site. If your home page focuses on mostly you and how many years you've been in business or the office kitty, you don't have enough information directly responding to the need of your customer, and your goal is to as quickly and as simply engage that individual customer as quickly as possible. Again, your plan can help you create or select the most appropriate web design or template, but to get started, define the audience, ask what they want to take away from the website, and ask how you can serve that need. Make a list of keywords that people might search in order to find the content that matters most to them. Try to incorporate those keywords or phrases into your navigation and the content of your site. Use a list to keep your site content, colors, icons, and imagery consistent with your goals. And then make a list of information and features that you have or want to have on your site, specifically about how they're going to help you relate and achieve your business goals. Okay, we've gone through goals, design, and organization, and we're getting closer to building your site. Here's another way to think about your site. It's a container. It contains all the information that you want to share with your target audience. A great website has useful and interesting content. When you hear the website term content, the first thing that probably comes to mind is text, like words in a book. That's one type, and it's of course the easiest type for search engines to find, but content doesn't stop at words. If you sell beautiful cakes, you might want to have a photo gallery section. If you deliver mulch to residential customers, you might want to add a video that shows people how to measure a flower bed to help them order the right amount. If you sell cameras, you might want to add PDFs or product manuals so your customers can download the information if they misplace that manual. What kind of content would be useful to your target audience? What content would support your business goals? Whenever possible, create original and unique content in order to stand out with search engines. This will set your business apart from the competition and help you rank more highly. Let's take a look at 3 types of content: text, images, and video. For every website, there are some basic tips to keep in mind. They try to include important keywords naturally in your text. For example, if you owned that mulch company and you were in Nashville, the title on your homepage might say something like, "Mulch for sale in Nashville, Tennessee." Always lead with your most important information. If your goal is to get people to call your business, keep your phone number prominent. Bulleted lists can help make text more readable. And while there's no rule of thumb, the more frequently you update your website, the more likely it will appear in search engine results. You can think of content and updating your website as almost like a game of leapfrog with your competition. Every time you update your website, you increase the likelihood that you will show up higher in search results, and the longer you let your website sit unloved, unattended, the more likely that you're going to show up further down the list. Let's also talk about what you write, how to make your content stand out. One way to set your business apart from the competition is by telling a story. If you tell your audience what inspires and drives you rather than focusing on what you sell, you might connect with potential customers. With a little bitty twist, focus on what drives you about what you can help your customer for. Everything should be directly related to who your customer is, what they do, and their personal approach or how you can respond to that. 2 possible approaches for content are the personal story and the higher purpose story. A personal story might focus on the moment or circumstances that sparked your business idea. Here's a made-up example for a camera business. Raphael was 6 when he got the best birthday gift of his life, a Polaroid camera. Since then, he has spent every day trying to become a better photographer. This website is the culmination of 45 years of experience, the best cameras, lenses, and accessories he can find. Notice that while this focuses on Raphael, it also ties in what the people visiting his website are interested in. They're looking for the best cameras, lenses, and accessories, and they're going to connect with Raphael's passion. Conversely, higher purpose story focuses on the greater shared goal of your business. Made up example for our mulch business. Elena started this company when she was trying to create an environmentally friendly garden for the students at the elementary school where she taught. She discovered that many garden products were full of toxic chemicals and many forests were being decimated for wood. So she started her company to provide a better option. Organically grown and treated garden products harvested sustainably. Simple, and again, cuts right to the heart of why a visitor is interested. They want organically grown and treated products that are harvested sustainably. So always connect to your user. Imagery can have an important influence on the success of your website as well. Here's some basic tips. Your images need to be clear and focused and look right in the overall design. This is somewhat subjective, but you should be able to tell looking at your site that everything fits together. It's almost always better to use real photos rather than stock art. And before you add an image to your site, make absolutely positively sure you have permission to use that image. This is one thing where I guard people very vehemently against just going to Google and doing an image search. If you do image searches against Google, they're going to submit to you images that will match your search, but that may be owned by other businesses. And it's very easy to get caught up in very expensive fines and or licensing fees if you use the wrong images. There is an option inside of Google's search tools to search for images that don't have copyright associated with them. There are also some other free image sites to look for, and in the aggregate, it's much better to search for licensable images than it is to get hit with the fine. So, if you're looking at images and you need to purchase, go to a reputable site, just Google for free copyright-free images and go from there, and make sure that you keep access or keep track of your copyright trail every time you use an image on your site. Of course, if you're going to source your own images, you can, of course, take care of that, but also watch the time, dates, and selections that you use and keep that original data with you so that you have it in case of a copyright claim. I won't get into all the different layers of copyright and public domain, but it makes sense to not just grab and grow with imagery. About digital images physically, they have two different types of sizes. One type of image size is the file size. That is how many bits or bytes your image is. Larger file sizes mean usually higher quality image, but there's a trade-off in that it takes longer for a web page to load with a bigger file. It's very easy to shoot incredibly large images right from your cell phone, but if you shoot too large of an image and just paste it onto your web page, that image is going to take forever to load, and no one has that much time on their hands, or certainly that much attention. So having a slow loading website is one of the best ways to decrease the traffic on your site. So file size is one size. The second size refers to dimensions. Without getting too technical, you can reduce an image's dimensions, but if you increase the dimensions from a regular image, if you stretch it out, it's going to appear blurry or pixelated. When you're looking for images on your website, you need to use one of these formats: JPEG.jpg, GIF.gif, could be GIF, or PNG. Other formats like EPS and PSD have to be converted before they can be used on a website. In general, if you're shooting for landscape or pictures of people or anything that has a lot of gradients, you're going to want to go with JPEGs. If you have graphics on your site, certainly anything that has transparency or animation, GIFs or PNGs are going to be a better option. In general, make your website or make your images as small as possible without getting blurry or ugly looking. And that's, again, subjective. In general, 20% compression or 80% compression, depending on how you look at it, is a good file size target for JPEGs. Beyond that, it starts looking pixelated and blurry. And probably 256 colors or even 32 colors on a GIF or a PNG is usually a pretty good file size. Make sure that you're just connecting, and you can see in any good image editing tool, Photoshop, GIMP, Pixelmator, whatever those tools might be, depending on if you're on Windows or Macintosh or some other format. There's a lot of good and free image editing tools right on the web now. So make your images as small as humanly possible file size-wise, and also match the sizing to the page. Finally, every image on your site should have alternative text or alt text to tell Google and other search engines what that image is. If your visitor's computer doesn't display images, that image will show up as blank unless you give them the right alt text. Likewise, if you have a file name of your image that says JPEG or image 10235.jpg, that doesn't tell Google or the user what that image is. And if a visitor's computer doesn't display images, or if they're visually impaired and use software to help them interpret those images, alt text can help increase and improve the usability, not just for search engines so that they know what that text is, but also for the users themselves. Since it's a Google presentation, I'm going to focus on YouTube for video. Video is a fantastic type of content to add to your site. Every day, people collectively watch 1 billion hours of YouTube video content every single day. You can create a free channel for your business, and to do that, keep in mind the 3 C's of online content strategy. First, conversations. Rather than thinking of YouTube as a place to host videos, think of it as a social media network. Your goal is to build followers, subscribers, shares, likes, and comments. Ask questions in your video descriptions to encourage comments. Keep the questions broad, positive, and upbeat, and reply back to foster conversation. Number 2, connections. Create playlists to connect videos and encourage visitors to watch more than one. Subscribers are automatically notified when a new content is published, and encourage viewers to subscribe with calls to action in VoiceOver and in visual cues. It's very easy inside of YouTube to add calls to action and buttons, and if you've watched YouTube at all, you probably have seen a number of those pop-up cards. And then conversions. Include short URLs in the video and a description to help viewers find your site, your app, or your pages. Track those links by setting up tracking links in Google Analytics, and keep your content helpful and informative. Here's an exercise to get you started. Write a video description. Start by asking yourself what content would interest your target audience, and what content do you want to create? How-tos, unboxing, entertainment videos. If you were to check the BusyWeb video library, we have a number of entertaining videos intermixed with more than 300 useful and informative training videos on how to do stuff like making your website work for you. Think about what actions you want your viewers to take after watching, and make sure that you include that call to action in your video and as a pop-up link inside of the video. And think about where on your website or app you want to send video watchers. So if you want to give them the Contact Us page, the Start Now page, regardless, whatever it is, you want to give them a physical and specific next step. Finally, on length, want to make sure that your video is as short as possible, and in general, if you're looking for a demo or a introductory video, a welcome page video, that should be 30 to 45 seconds. If you have a brief or small topic, I like to keep those small topics or brief interviews under 90 seconds. And then if you have more detail or a deeper explanation, maybe an unboxing video or a how-to. If you're a plumber, showing people how to unclog a drain. If you're an auto mechanic, how to do specific tasks. Those can be, up to 30 minutes or sometimes even longer. But the value of the content should match the length of the video. The more detail you go into, the more end value you give, the longer that video can be while still being comfortably okay with your users. You're going to see via your analytics how long people stay on your videos. And if you note that you have a 30-minute video, but people only attend that video for 5 minutes, well, then you've got a disconnect between the content of your video and the usability or utility of the content inside of that video. And so you're going to want to adjust your strategy a little bit. Let's move into another aspect to help you achieve your business goals, functionality. So what does functionality really mean in this context? It refers to the parts of your site that allow visitors to take specific actions. If you're making a list of all the functionality on your site, that might include site search, very important especially for mobile devices, contact forms, as short as possible of course, an online shopping cart or checkout if you have a B2C company, or a custom tool designed specifically for your customers. Functionality can help support your business goals. Here's 3 scenarios. First, a locally owned landscaping company delivers mulch to homes. Most owners order too much or too little. How can they help? First, create an online mulch calculator. Customers enter the dimensions of their mulch beds and the depth they want, and the calculator tells them how many cubic yards they need to order. This cuts down on your time as a business owner and gives additional utility and makes your customers more willing to buy because they have more information. Next, you start your own salon, but you're the only person working there and you can't answer phones when you're on with a client. Well, create or license an existing appointment scheduling tool so customers can book online. Or you answer the same set of questions on the phone every single day. Your website can help by creating a simple page with frequently asked questions to help customers find answers to their most basic queries. Last but not least, a great site is search engine friendly. After all, if you made all the time, effort, and expense to create a website, you're going to want to make sure that potential customers can find you when they do a Google search. The process of helping a website increase its visibility on search engines is called search engine optimization, or SEO. SEO merits its own presentation, but this section will give you some tips to get off to a good start. Imagine that the web is a book with trillions of pages. Google's job is to read the book, categorize the pages, and help searchers find the information on those pages. Simple, right? To read the pages, Google uses software robots called web crawlers or spiders. As these new pages are found, they're added into Google's index, and the data in this index is stored in facilities called data centers. When people search, results shown are pulled from the data stored in those data centers. When you start your search, Google's algorithm starts the process of finding the results that you're looking for. The algorithm looks at the word or phrase that the user types and uses more than 200 signals to identify the most relevant results. Examples of these signals might include the freshness of content on the website, how new it is, the number of other sites linking to a particular site and the authority of those links, quality of the content on the site, the URL and the page title of the site, and whether the best result is a web page, image, video, news article, etc. After all that, the searcher sees a page like this, a search results page, sometimes called SERP for search engine results page. At the top, you see a word or phrase that the searcher typed in called a search query, in this case, Stasia's Bakery. Below the query, you see the results. Page can include ads, identified with a little green ad label. And below the text ad in this example, you see the start of the natural or organic results. Creating a search engine friendly site helps increase your chances of appearing on the top of search engine results. Organic results are web pages that Google's algorithm identifies as the most useful matches for that search. Click on an organic result, or clicks on organic results are free. It's important to note that sites cannot pay Google to appear in the organic results, and advertising does not influence a website's organic presence or position on Google search results. On the right sidebar, you see a section that provides useful information for the searcher, and that's called a Google My Business listing. It's a free tool that helps you add your business info to Google Search and Maps. Let's put a pin in that one because Google Search and Maps and Google My Business is an essential tool if you have a local business that serves people in a specific geographic region. So here's a few tips to help you build a website that will rank well. Optimize your load time, especially for people viewing your site on mobile devices. Your target should be 3 seconds or less for load over 3G networks, and the average website loads in 19 seconds. Use original content, useful, information-rich, clear, and accurate content. Include keywords that users would find if they were to be looking for your product or service. For links, especially in the navigation, use text when possible, and if that image or if that link is an image, be sure to include relevant alt tags. Good page titles and descriptions. Ensure that the title elements and alt descriptions are descriptive, specific, and accurate while being very short. In general, titles should be under 70 characters and description should be around the length of a tweet or about 140 characters. Remember information architecture? That not only helps your human visitors, it helps Google interpret the content, including what's important and what's less important on your website. And last but not least, design your site for all browsers, device types and sizes, including desktops, tablets, and probably most importantly, smartphones. We've covered a lot of information today. Let me give you a few next steps, and then again, I'm going to round out with just a few opportunities for questions, so don't be shy and enter those questions in the Q&A tool inside of GoToWebinar now. First, start by making a list of business goals that you want to support with your website. If you're building a brand new site, choose a design that works on all browsers and devices. If you've had your site for a while, check to see how it performs on all devices, especially on mobile devices. Remember to use the mobile-friendly test, open it up on your phone, and make sure that you don't have to pinch, zoom, or hunt around to find the most urgent and important information. Third, create or recreate a plan for your content, your website's information architecture. Organization will help human visitors and search engines navigate your website more easily. Once you have your plan, start adding content. The more often you can publish useful, original content on your site, the better. In general, for most small businesses, I recommend at least once a week updating your website. Think about how your site can offer functionality that supports your business goals. Before investing time and resources building a custom tool, check to see if there's existing software that can be bought or licensed for your site. And when in doubt, a good old frequently asked questions can do wonders in helping cut the frustration and increase the utility of your site. Last but not least, make sure your site is search engine friendly. If Google can't find your website, neither can most potential customers. So if you're ready to build on what you've learned so far, you can reinforce today's workshop by taking free interactive lessons about a variety of digital marketing topics. These fast, easy lessons take about 5 minutes to complete and can help you learn more about online marketing whenever you have a few minutes to spare. Lessons are available at gybo.com/lessons, or you can also download Primer, a free mobile app that's available on Google Play or on the App Store on iOS.
Okay, Dave, thank you so much for all the great information, and thanks everyone for attending today. If you have any questions or want to be connected with Dave, you can email us at info@marketingbitz.com. Stay tuned for the next webinar, and with that, have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.